This is Lon Winters with Graphic Elephants.
This is Jimmy Lamp.
This is Matt Vassallo with the RhinstoneWorld.com.
And you're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
And you are listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by...
My name is Terry Combs, RG, regular guy.
And Aaron Montgomery.
We're just regular guys having fun and trying to make a living in this really cool and exciting industry.
I think we all want to succeed 100% of the time.
Seek to understand before I try and make myself understood.
Bring a ton of great information.
Coming to you live from somewhere dark, dirty, and dank.
All right. Well, welcome into the show. It is Friday, July 1st, 2022. I can't believe it's July 1st. I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I am Eric Campbell. You might have noticed I'm not Aaron Montgomery again. So sitting in again for a traveling Aaron Montgomery who's currently on the road. But you can find me at ericcampbell.com. And today we are very lucky to welcome in my friend and longtime friend of the show, Kristine Shreve, to talk about trade show pet peeves. And I know we're all kind of champing at the bit at this one because we've been on every side of a trade show you can imagine in this room. So definitely with Kristine here, especially with her organizational work for AG. She's also been on literally every side that trade shows can be experienced from.
Well, I'm hoping that Aaron is tuned in. He got stuck on a highway in Colorado, I think.
Think so.
Kind of construction, and he's just trying to get home. By gosh.
Yeah, someday we will get Aaron back. I promise. This is not a hostile takeover of the Two Regular Guys. I know it might seem like producer Eric is just kicking Aaron out and banning him. I mean, I have threatened to do it, but I haven't done it yet.
that threat's more towards me than Aaron normally.
Yeah. Usually I'm telling Terry I'm going to mute his mics. It's not usually Aaron, but you never know. Maybe there's always time for this. So as we lead into the long weekend, hopefully, like I said, all best wishes to Aaron getting home safe, and for all of you guys having a safe weekend coming up. But let's go ahead and start. I actually have one brief news item to share. So one quick news item that I wanted to bring up. We did have our good friend Josh Ellsworth on last week, and because of that, I thought, you know what? Let's share something Stalls related. Josh from Stalls talked about all of the cool educational stuff they're doing, but I wanted to show that they have a cool magazine that you might not have heard of. They do an online magazine called How to Make It. I'm going to go ahead and throw this up on the screen here. Here's the bit.ly link for those who are here watching live. I will go ahead and put that in the comments as well. But in this Make It magazine, they actually do this for seasonal kind of episodes. They've got stuff for the summer about doing your own kind of product line, about t-shirt printing, about heat press stuff that you would expect, creating a lifestyle brand. So something kind of cool to check out. It's just another resource and from some folks who really know the business. So I'm going to go ahead and actually share my second screen for just a second so you can see it. Just kind of a cool thing. They've got just a flip book style magazine, very classical style with a bunch of cool stuff and inspirational things from Stalls. So because they kind of did that last week, I thought, hey, why not share some of that stuff? There's all kinds of great things that are up there and cool to check out. So yeah, check it out from Stalls. Their new episode, or their new issue, not episode. God, we are doing so many live episodes that I am apparently everything is now a show, but their new issue is out just now.
Well, see, since it was just for summer, I thought every page would just be koozies, but apparently not. It's all kinds of things.
Not everybody is at your pool, man. Like there are other things that happen aside from having a tasty beverage.
I am taking off a little bit early today, and my intention is to start the weekend float about 3:00. So
the weekend float, Terry's zero gravity weekend float into the weekend. Yeah, I wish I were doing that. I've got a little bit more work to manage for the day, but yeah, that sounds good to me. I will say though, glad to see folks like Stalls putting out cool information like this. And you know, I'm still a sucker for sometimes the magazine format. I know everybody's like, oh, they're going away. I still love them in digital format too.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I love the fact that, and I think that's probably why Stalls is such a great friend of the show, and is because their focus is on education as well. And
totally,
and, all of us, including Kristine, that's what we're here for. So
totally. So yeah, great stuff from them.
We're also here for a dad joke, and I think I've got a pretty good one today.
Oh, I think you do. I'm going to say hi to a couple people. I'm going to bring a couple comments because I want to hold this back because this is actually one of the better dad jokes we've had. So I'm going to make everybody wait for just a second to get this awesome dad joke. Let's say hi to a couple people. Cindy King coming from Texas saying good morning. Chuck saying good morning. Good morning, Chuck. Yosta, who just had his birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Yosta. Hi to all of you from Uppsala, Sweden. So there we go. Tanya saying, hello, Terry and Eric. Love Kristine. We all love Kristine. We're glad to have her on. And hey, Tanya, happy to have you here as well. And we have Barb coming in. So hi, Eric. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Terry. And everybody's saying hi to each other. Jerry's in. Justin's in from J Digitizing. Happy to have you guys all in. And everybody who decided to tune in instead of just bailing out on a Friday. I know it's a long weekend coming up, but if you're here investing in yourself, then we are happy to have you here talking about trade shows.
I love James Ortolani's comment there. Did you see that?
Yeah. Hi, guys. Let's hear the dad jokes. See, everybody is just here for the dad joke. Now we have, we have an industry expert, James Ortolani, asking us for the dad joke already. All right, fine. I'll quit holding you guys back. We'll get the dad joke. It's just one of those things we have to do.
All right. We need to do an intro. We need to do an intro for the dad joke. I think.
Intro video for the dad joke. We'll just have intro videos every 2 seconds.
The video is longer than the joke, but
just theme songs every 30 seconds.
Yeah, we probably went out there. We probably just search the dad joke song. Okay, here it is.
All right, here we go.
All right, Bear walks into a bar and says to the bartender, 1 whiskey and 1 Coke. The bartender says, why the big pause? I don't know. I was born with them.
Okay.
That's a good one. Come on.
It's cute. It's cute. It's a cute dad joke. There's nothing wrong with that one. Except we play with language. I'm happy. So I like that one. That's not bad.
And you didn't have to go in there and explain it in parentheses. So
no. This one, I'm hoping people actually, hey, it's an audio show as well as a video show. Hopefully you actually heard that there was a pause.
Pause.
I mean, I can sit here and ruin it and just go, hey, folks, there are 2 meanings for the word pause. It's a homophone. It sounds the same. Now, I would love to ruin it just because ruining it is also half of the fun. But
all right.
Hey,
before we go any further, we want to thank everybody for checking out the 2 Regular Guys podcast. We are always looking for new guests, as you guys know. We mentioned it every week. If you or anyone you'd like, anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2, the number 2, Regular Guys, and share your show ideas. If you are listening to the podcast version, we would appreciate you sharing the 2 Regular Guys with all of your industry friends so they can become regulators too. Nice that we have Kristine on the show because she came up with the term regulators. And we would appreciate you giving us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We are everywhere. And if you're watching us live right now, please join in with your comments and questions about trade shows, whether you're an attendee or whether you're a vendor. Everybody's got a trade show story. So we would love to have you join in.
Absolutely. No matter what angle you're coming at this from, we would want to talk about that. So jump in the comments and join us live. But with that, let's hear a quick word from OSG.
As small business owners, we face a lot of challenges. And lately, words like inflation, fear, recession, war, strife are all coming up more and more. And many times we think the best course of action is just to dive right in and have no plan. We end up wasting time. We end up wasting money. We get overwhelmed. We feel frustrated. But the better option is to have a strategic plan. Then nothing's wasted. We're more efficient. We have confidence. We have clarity, and we have purpose. Dr. Stephen Covey said, all things are created twice. There's a mental or first creation and a physical or second creation. So we've created a workshop called Growing Your Business Effortlessly. This is going to happen on July 15th, and we can't wait to work with you on your strategic plan. That way you end up with more clarity, confidence, and purpose inside of your business. We're going to cover these 5 topics and more. If you go to oursuccessgroup.com/grow, you can learn more and you can register right there. We have 2 options. There's the live workshop that's available for only $29, or you can be part of the VIP experience and get that live workshop plus recorded access and much, much more. Go to oursuccessgroup.com/grow to register. There are limited seats available, so sign up right away.
All right. So yeah, check that out, folks. Once again, that is over at oursuccessgroup.com/grow. If you're interested.
And Eric, I had an example of that earlier when I said I plan to at 3:00 start my 3-day float. So that's my strategic plan for the weekend.
No wasted time in getting to the tasty beverages and floating in the pool for Terry. So he's already created that first mentally. I mean, hey, also works for business. Maybe it works for your recreation too. But I think everybody, hey, we call that self-care. Thank you, Terry. So
yeah,
a little bit of self-care this afternoon should be good for a friend.
I should have the coffee mug that Aaron gave me for Christmas one year that in fine print across the side it says may contain alcohol.
Yeah, it's entirely possible for the pool, but hey, everybody needs to unwind, especially after we have, let's say, I don't know, a stressful event, as we might do in the trade show world. But with that, I would like to bring in our guest because we actually have somebody with a great deal of experience. So let's introduce Kristine Shreve. Kristine is the Director of Marketing and Outreach for Lenny Penny and Applique Getaway. And she is also the host of the excellent Women Plus Business podcast and the founder of the Women in Garment Decoration Group. So let's bring in Kristine.
I have to say, if you were watching me in the green room, I was shaking my head really hard at the dad joke. But I also was reluctantly laughing. So I don't know.
You used to commented, bear with me. So
yeah, I saw that. I thought that was
funny.
funny.
See it yet. That's fantastic.
And James liked the joke.
Yeah, no, hey, as long as somebody laughs, you only need to you got to change that one person. Once again, speaking about trade shows, we always say, if I can just reach out and educate one person to do one thing. Well, with the dad joke, if we can get one response that's not me face palming.
Well, I was face palming a little, but you couldn't see it. So
I appreciate it. Nobody else could see it, but like we always say, we get to see the green room. We see people down there in the green room, and I appreciated you taking up the slack for me, shaking your head and looking disappointed like I usually do.
I am a well-known kind of not fan of the dad jokes and the puns, and I have now groups of people that actually post them on Facebook and tag me because they want to torment me. So I don't know that that's something I'm actually happy about or proud of, but it happens.
Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to advertise that here necessarily, but
you know what?
Your email is now filling up with dad jokes.
Oh, yeah. Well, at this point, between being threatened with Nerd Star confetti at Applique Getaway and people sending, I'm like, it is what it is, I guess. It means people are thinking of me. Maybe we should put the positive spin on it.
There you go.
That's what I always say. People are considering your reaction. I guess when they stop caring, that's worse. That's probably the
attitude, I suppose that's true. So they care enough to torment me. My heart is so warm right now.
That doesn't sound good. That sounds a lot worse than I intended it to.
No, I know what you meant.
Well, Kristine, the point of our show today is talking about trade show pet peeves, whether you're a vendor or whether you're an attendee. But let's go back in time a little bit. What was the very first trade show you attended, and what was the very first trade show that you worked as a vendor?
Oh my goodness. Jeez, Terry. Do you know how long ago that was? I think the first one, the first one that I attended might have been an ISS show. Either that or what is now the Graphics Pro Expo, but was the NBM show back in the day. One of those two, I can't tell you. My memory won't bring me which one it was, but I think it was one of those two. First show I ever worked, either an NNEP show or DAX, or it might have been ISS 2. So I am very unclear on the details of this.
You need to go through about 1,000 name badges and see if they have dates on them.
I didn't keep a lot of my name. I have a couple here, which you can't see, but I didn't keep a lot of my name badges. But honestly, Enmart, when I was at Enmart, which was my previous life, we did a lot. We did ISS for a while. We did DAX for a number of years. We did most of the NNEP shows. We didn't do a lot of NBM, but we had oh my gosh, now you're making me think of the booth from hell. we had a when we started, before we got smart, we had this huge truss and we built this booth around it, and it was the most, why we ever thought that was a good idea, I really don't know. But
we did
at the
that
time
US
we did.
too. We had the big trust system, and I was like, what the heck? In fact, everybody left once, and Aaron and I had to take it down. We had to recruit people from other booths to help us get it down to the ground. It was so big and heavy, but
yeah,
that was
that was kind of the fashion back in the day, though.
Yeah. And now you get the frame, put the sublimation printed cover over it, and wham bam, you're done. You're ready to go. For anybody who new to the industry, ISS, the Imprinted Sportswear Show, is now Impressions Expo.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot that. Everybody's changed their name.
Yeah. Right before COVID too, which was kind of crazy. But the first show I ever attended was the ISS show in Atlantic City in a previous century.
It feels like when I think back to what it was in the beginning, it feels like a previous century. The booths got much bigger over the years. So
and back in those days too, there would be, minor celebrities, there would be sports people there signing autographs. People, I remember talking to a woman who was in from General Hospital or something in somebody's booth. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I remember the era of all the booth models.
Yes.
And I used to look at those poor women who were walking around, usually in, branded t-shirts and shorts and high heels. And I'm thinking, I don't know that there's enough money in the world. Because walking around in high heels all day at a trade show is not a joke, man.
Or a dress made of screen mesh. I remember that one.
Oh, I missed that one. Oh, that doesn't sound comfortable at all.
I think I may have started late to the game. At no point were there. I missed the entire booth model era. But also, everybody thinks that I've been doing this so long that I was at trade shows for a long time. I didn't come out of my digitizing cave for over a decade and didn't come out to the shows until fairly recently in history.
Yeah.
But I do remember that certainly that that initial kind of shock of seeing, and my big one is always Long Beach. Going down the big escalator into the Long Beach show and how big it was compared to what you kind of imagined. And it was pretty amazing experience. I still can remember as somebody showing up to the show the first time and thinking, wow, look at all the stuff that's dedicated to our industry. Very different attitude after you've worked the booth behind the scenes.
Yes.
But I'd love to try and remember that.
I remember talking to you at a trade show and you saying, this is the first time I've ever been to a trade show before. I was very surprised.
Yep, this is absolutely true. I spent a lot of my time kind of behind the scenes and not out.
Yeah, when you were at Black Duck.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for my oh good Lord, but I was just reading Justin's comment and going, seriously? Are you just trying to make me crazy?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. That's what we're planning to have Jeff do at AG. So I guess Jeff,
a screen mesh dress or be a booth model.
Either one is possible. So check in on the Embroidery Nerds live podcast and ask what Jeff's going to be wearing for the show.
Yeah, we're going to have a discussion on the AG Mega Live this afternoon because I'll have the boys on so I can talk to them sternly.
For what you want for. Anyone who doesn't know, I'm sure you guys do know, but AG is Applique Getaway. So check out, there's going to be a live this afternoon from Applique Getaway talking to those folks. And I'm sure
why would you abbreviate a trade show that has such a cool name?
Well, part of the reason is because we're trying to downplay the applique a little bit because it's now much more than applique. When it started out way back, however many years ago now. 11 years, 10 years, something like that.
Wow.
It was really centered around applique, but now we've got everything. So now we're just kind of calling it the Getaway.
Nice.
But I agree that doesn't quite have the same punch to it.
Great movie from the 70s, by the way.
Everybody's just doing old home night tonight. All right.
Oh, good Lord.
So Cindy says, at the Fort Worth show, there was always after parties with Dallas Cowboy players. Lots of fun and autographs. Yeah, I missed an entire era. I'm gonna say. I'm pretty sure at this point.
I don't remember seeing celebrities.
Before Printing United, it was SGIA, as you guys know, and I went to a party in Dallas put on by Sarah Call, if you guys remember that company, and it was at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. It was awesome. Yeah. So, and the cheerleaders were out there. You could go try to kick field goals. It was. I don't know what they paid for it, but those days are in the distant past. So.
Yeah.
I think that when people hear about trade shows now, and then they kind of have the folks who wax poetically about them, it's because they haven't seen some of that stuff. So I'm like, quite frankly, trade shows haven't been what they were. I think that's not anything bad against them. In fact, the funny thing is I think they're more focused and more about education, more about industry stuff. People are there to do business, whereas I think a lot of the times I know people used to be there to have a vacation, because I remember my bosses in the industry going out to shows or going out, like let's say the Magic Show out in Vegas. There was a lot going on aside from buying apparel at the Magic Show out in Vegas. So I know that there was a lot of people who were going for their vacation too. Like it's not a bad thing, but it is one of those things where more people I talk to about trade shows now are there to get educated and see vendors and do the things that we all kind of talk about as the benefits of the trade shows.
Well, that's why also a lot of vendors much prefer a trade show in Indianapolis than in Orlando, because everybody brings their family with them to Orlando and they come to the show for 2 hours, and then they're all off to Universal or Disney or wherever. So, and it's the same with Vegas or the Vegas shows. It's that second and third day when people are dragging into the show about 2:00.
This can be true. We have a couple good comments here before I want to get into it. We actually have questions, believe it or not. Instead of just us chatting, we have more we have actual questions to ask. But let's jump in a couple
I'm still
comments.
trying to get my head around the fact that I'm not running this thing. It's just
if you run shows,
I keep wanting to go, can we do this?
You can always just tell me what to do. I take direction. We all know. Terry's like, do you? I'm like, well, not for me, Terry, but everybody else, just not Terry. So James says, James Orlani again, it's the people you meet at trade shows that make shows so epic. Agreed. Once I saw a customer looking at a sim process printer at a booth, and I said, do you have any questions about how this is done? Turns out it was famed artist Dave Gardner. So yep, you never know who's going to be in the booth. And Yosta says, I was a rock band roadie for many years. Awesome. A lot of folks doing that in the decoration area. So when I met my now wife, she struggles with the show. I made it work easy and fixed it all like a rock tour. That's the way to do it. Know how to break down and set up like the merch booth or like the equipment. That's a big deal, folks.
Well, just a couple of years ago, if you guys remember from wrestling, Roddy Piper, he came to the booth, to my booth, looking at equipment, and unfortunately he passed away just a few months later. But yeah, he was an attendee, and somebody whispered to me, "You know who that is?" I'm like, "He looks really familiar."
Well, that's what we always say, like apparel branding and marketed merch is for everybody. So you never know who's going to be there doing the show tours. But we actually have a question I want to address specifically to Kristine. Yes, we titled the show Pet Peeves, and I'm sure we're going to unleash a million pet peeves, both as people who work shows and people who go to shows. But what's your favorite part of working the shows, being behind the booth?
Oh boy. I think meeting the people was always my favorite, I have to say. And that moment when you meet someone who's just starting out or who's confused by something and you can give them a solution and you see that light go on in their face, like, I get this now, and you just saved me from this problem. There's something about that just never gets old. I mean, no matter how many times it happened. And the other thing that was always really fun is once I started getting a little known in the industry, people would be very kind and take the time to come to the booth because they wanted to say hello or thank you for something I'd written or thank you for, an appearance on Two Regular Guys or whatever it was. So that was always lovely too. And that means, I think people don't really understand how much that means when you're somebody that, does shows and writes and does all this stuff, to have people come to you and say, I received what you put out there and it meant something to me, or I learned from it. That's why we do this stuff. I mean, trust me when I tell you we're not doing it for the money.
That's true.
No, I had that discussion pretty recently, and like I said, this is nothing against any of the trade shows or anything whatsoever.
no.
But somebody said to me earlier, they're like, "Oh, surely they cover all your travel and all your." I was like,
Nope.
No. I'm like, if you want to do trade show stuff, remind yourself that you have to have another reason to be there to make your money. Like, it's not educating at a show or being somebody who's a vendor. And I think maybe that's a fair thing to say about trade show pet peeves. Folks kind of think like we make the big money because we're on the bill, and that is just not the case. You are definitely sacrificing some time and money to teach at a show if you're not there for some other reason. It
usually costs you money to speak at a show. Well, and especially with air travel. I mean, I paid $725 to go to Chicago for the DAX show.
Mm-hmm.
Once you pay for that and pay for your hotel, you're pretty much there, on your own dime.
You're very much underwater, and I think that's not a complaint necessarily. It's just something to understand for folks. I'm like, if you want to get into the industry, some people have asked me, "Hey, I'd like to teach this stuff." I'm like, by all means. Yesterday was sadly the deadline for ISS show submissions, so I would have said, or Impressions Expo show submissions. But when they ask for submissions, go ahead and submit. I will just warn you, you better do it for the love. Do it for the love, or have something else, and don't be there to pitch, because pitching is it's tremendously annoying to the people who are there for education, truthfully. And unless you're very honest about doing a pitch session, there's nothing wrong with selling. We love selling. I mean, gosh, we've all done it. But you have to have a difference between what's a pitch session and what's education. And if you're there to do education, by all means, make sure that you're just doing education during the time that you're there to do education.
And obviously we're not complaining because we all speak at these events. So
believe me, why do I know that the submission deadline was yesterday? Is because I was submitting my last few ideas for the impression shows yesterday.
And I posted it in the Women in Garment Decoration group to encourage everybody there to start teaching, because I think we need more women teaching. We all know that's one of my 100%. Things, but I mean, and I think the point that we're really trying to make here is that yes, the shows compensate us, and that's lovely. But we do it because it matters. People need to do this kind of stuff. And I'm not going to say we do it for free but some of us do. So, it's kind of an open secret, but, like Eric said, it's not anything against the shows. We're not criticizing their pay scales. We're not saying that they should be paying more or compensating us for other things or any of that. It's just a commentary on the state of how things are.
Yeah. But at the same time, I would fully say that since we're talking about both trade show pet peeves and things we like about the shows, it's one of the most valuable things I've ever done. I think it's also the legacy of the industry, and I'm happy to do it. And I think everybody else should too. Part of the other issue is everybody asks me, "Oh, how did you get to talk at these things?" I'm like, when the submission date came up, I submitted some stuff. By all means, if you want to try, get out there and submit. There are people with audiences. There are people who know what they're doing who just you can, trust me, you can do it too. You can get out there and speak. And if you think the education's not what you want it to be, one of the great ways to make it the way you want it is to do it, is to educate, get out there and teach what you know. So that is part of it. People, if people are wondering how that works, we submit ideas when they ask for submissions.
Well, and the other half of it too is if somebody from a trade show does offer you the opportunity, which is what happened to me, say yes.
Yeah.
Instead of going, because when it was Scott Ritter from DAX who offered me my first chance to do a seminar, and my first instinct was, oh, I couldn't possibly, I can't do that. It'll be scary, and I don't like talking, and I'll have to get up in front of people, and I don't know, all sorts of weird stuff was in my head. And Scott basically said, I believe that you can do this. And so I found whatever courage I had, and I did it. And my first one, I was so scared, but now I love it more than anything. So, take the leap. And it'll be scary. And trust me, your knees will be trembling the first one that you do, whether there's 5 people in the room or 500 people in the room. But it's totally worth it.
People fear public speaking more than death in surveys. You're right. Once you get up there, and especially live, because we all had that period of time where we were doing these online deals, but when you're doing it live and you start interacting with the audience, it's really rewarding, and and then when you read the reviews after that, people had great takeaways from it. It's worth all the time and effort. And hey, it's not just that hour and 20 minutes that you're speaking. It's those 40 hours you spent putting that presentation together.
Yeah, it's true.
Don't remind me, I still have 4 slide decks. I have 4 slide decks to do for Applique Getaway still. So.
Oh, don't say it out loud. Don't let them know that we don't prepare everything 3 years in advance.
They all know. I've been talking about it for a while now. I know what everything is going to be. I have the talks put together. I just haven't put the information in the slides yet.
The visuals, yes.
Yeah, and it'll happen, but I'm just like, shoot.
Well, I think that's the other thing is people think that those of us who present or work in booths are always entirely okay, natural, and ready to go. I get nervous before every single one. I practice every single one live. I usually do a dry run the day before in my hotel room. And yes, that means I do the entire presentation in my hotel room by myself. And I'm not a natural. I would say I get nervous when I'm doing the shows. Let's put it that way. I don't just feel cool like, hey, this is time to go. I'm great. I am super nervous for the shows. What I'm lucky about is that I think a lot of people are like this too. You'll find that when you're there and you're in the moment and you're talking about something you care about to people who need the information, that person who needs to be there will show up. Like presentation guy or gal will show up for you and be you for that period of time.
But just have to say yes. Started out too. I used to tell myself, because I get really nervous too, and I'd tell myself, everybody here wants me to succeed in giving this presentation. That always helped me to kind of calm down before I started the presentation. So
totally true.
Well, so Kristine, let's talk about pet peeves. What are some unreasonable requests you've gotten while you're working in a booth from an attendee? Anything come to mind?
There's a couple that always used to just make me want to punch people, and I'm not a violent person, but I mean, there really were. One of them was always the people who would come around towards the end of the show and they would say, well, you don't want to take this home, so will you give me a deal on it? And it was usually or you don't want to take all this thread home and have to count it again. How about if you just sell it to me for $1 a spool or whatever it was? And I would just look at them and go, seriously, we have a box truck, we pack it up, it's fine. But there was this, and it was always kind of phrased like somehow they were doing us a favor.
Right.
That they were going to take this thing off our hands for this really cheap price.
The last hour of the show where the people are walking around going, got any free t-shirts?
Yeah. And then the other one was, and I don't know, but this happened more than once. We would have people who either had formed an affection for one of us who were working the booth or just liked the company. And so they decided that the fun thing to do would be to park themselves in the booth as the show was closing and then want to chat. And anybody who's been a vendor at a show knows by the time the show is done, all you want to do is pull that booth down, pack everything up, and get out of there and go have a drink.
Exactly. Right.
You're tired, and you start making kind of, polite hints to, gee, maybe it's time to go. And then you get a little less polite. And, but that one, I did not get that because I don't see what the attraction is to sit in a booth when people are yanking stuff down around you. But
obviously working feverishly, right?
I mean, and the show's done and it's, the announcement has been made that the floor is now closed. Get out.
Right.
And, these people thought it was time to let's talk about my big, huge problem that I want you to solve.
And then not to mention, it's kind of dangerous. I mean, those forklift drivers, they do not go slow.
No, I was shocked the first time displaying at Impressions and they started tearing the carpets up. Like we are still, and by the way, this is for a software company. This was working at Deco Network. So we don't have a lot to tear down. We aren't finished tearing down. Carpets are up. Rolls of carpet are flying down the aisles. I mean, it's minutes from the real shutdown. things are being pulled up and moving. So
they're
admittedly, it's
taking
not
down the
great.
curtain behind you. They're taking the
Yes.
chairs, the tables out of your booth.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they are ripping out things out from under your feet while you are trying to
Oh.
get packed up, and it is
Well,
depending
I
on which
have
show
a good
you're at.
forklift driver story that I got to share because you want to talk
Go
about
for it.
pet peeves that
Yeah.
when I was a newly minted marketing director for Ensign Emblem, which was the parent company for Enmart, first trade show I was ever part of making happen. We did this amazing booth. We had all these acrylic panels. They were gorgeous. They had vinyls on them. They were beautiful. We made special boxes to pack them. We did everything to make sure these arrived at the show pristine and perfect and could be hung like they were supposed to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get a call from one of my guys at the show. The forklift driver put the forks through one of the acrylic boxes and broke one of the panels.
Yeah.
And this is like the night before, the afternoon before the show. So I have to figure out, obviously we can't make another panel. We had the panel specially done. We can't get one by the next day. So I ended up getting a really, I'm sorry to say it, but a really cheap like vinyl banner that a local company here was able to put out for us. And I was able to overnight it. So at least there was something in place of that panel. But I mean, seriously, the forklift driver didn't just like nick this thing. He put the forks right through it. It was in little tiny shards.
Yeah.
I think we've all had it.
We have all lived
display
that.
Oh yeah, no. If you display at a show, if you're running a booth, for
gosh.
sure you have had something get destroyed. You have had issues with it. Or this is the other thing. If you guys don't know, if you're thinking about displaying or doing stuff at a trade show, be really aware of drayage. If you don't know what drayage is, it's the amount it costs, especially in Uniontown, to get things from the dock to the booth. And sometimes it'll be more than your entire transit from where you are to the state that you're going to. So there are costs you may not know about.
Yeah, true. True from this year out in Long Beach. I don't know what it costs to ship the stuff for Equipment Zone from New Jersey to Long Beach, probably $3,000 to go from the dock to our booth. And you could see the dock from the booth. $5,000 we were charged to move.
Oh, material handling is horrible.
Yeah, and people don't realize that how incredibly expensive it is to do trade shows, and that's not counting your hotels and the booth space and dinners and everything else.
It's expensive. Well, I want to just take a little initiative here, guys, because there is one pet peeve that I really do want to talk about.
Okay,
and it has to do with the issue that I perennially talk about, which is how women are treated. And this one is, and I've heard this story so many times, I can't even tell you. So if you are a salesperson who's working a booth, listen to this one because it seriously can screw your sales. It's when you're at a show with your husband, your brother, a male coworker, your uncle, your father, whoever it is, and you walk into the booth and it's your business and you're the one who's going to make the decision about what you buy and how much money you spend. And the person in the booth, who isn't always a man, but usually is, will talk to the male who's with you rather than you. And just make the assumption that it's his business, he's making the decision. And then I have heard from some women that even when they explain, it's my business, I'm the one making the decision, the person will still talk to the guy.
It's like the 1950s all over.
Yeah, and I mean, it's
stunning.
That's one thing that I would tell anybody that sells in a booth. Never, ever make a decision about who's the person who has the money and who's the person who's going to make the buying decision. Don't judge on how they look. Don't judge on what they're wearing. Don't judge on how they speak. We made some huge sales at Enmart from people who looked like they didn't have 2 cents in their pocket.
Yep.
And they wouldn't blink at dropping thousands of dollars on something. So it's just something to, and Susan says, still today, it almost always happens. I like that. Yeah. I don't like that, but I like that because it backs up my story.
Younger buyers as well. I mean, I remember being at a show in Vegas and we had, I don't know, we probably had 12 salespeople there. And there was a young guy, probably 20, he must have walked by 7 different sales reps before I got up to him and asked if I could help him. He spent $90,000 in the booth that day. $90,000, and people came up to me afterwards and said, "Did that kid buy something?" I'm like, "No, he bought 6 somethings." No way. And I'm like, "Yes, he just spent $90,000 on an American Express card." So
Wow.
you know, my rule is this: I speak to everybody that walks into the booth, no matter what, and you have to treat everybody as if they are, well, you know, with the respect they deserve. So
yeah, and I think that's something that that's the pet peeve from the other side of the booth. I remember, and this is actually, I went in the capacity of being a partnership manager. So I'm looking for strategic partnerships when I was at Deco Network. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go view the booths of all the vendors and see what's new and talk to all the regional salespeople and say, hey, what's going on in your neck of the woods? How are things going in this region? I cannot tell you how many times I have walked up to a booth and someone is literally hiding behind a rack. The person with the badge on who's supposed to be discussing things with people, talking to people, or you'll ask them a couple questions. They're like, I don't know. They just hired me to be here today. Or they're on their phone the entire time.
Phone, that's the one that drives me nuts.
On the tablet. What drove me nuts is we were at a show where the tablets were being used for lead generation. They were, you know, capturing information, and the person kept swiping back over to the thing they were watching on a video site. And I don't know, YouTube, whatever, watching streams. They might have been watching live streams, but they kept on switching back over on the tablet that they're trying to help people on. They're keep on switching over to watch some videos. And I'm like, if you pay to have someone there, please, by all means, have somebody engaged, because I would rather walk up to a booth full of samples with no human in it than a person who is not going to engage and who might like actively turn me off of your brand. Like, you have to have somebody who's at least partially engaged, and it makes a big difference. I'm telling you right now, I have had someone in classes, being someone who does mostly education when I'm there, I've had people in classes buy a different embroidery machine brand than the one they intended to, based entirely on the experience with the people in the booth. That's a huge purchase.
Absolutely.
Equipment purchases happen and are entirely changed based on the experiences people have with you in the booth. It's sometimes for the worst. I hate to say this. Sometimes I have to stop and go, wait a minute, maybe not that equipment. They had a really good salesperson who talked a good game, and I'm glad they did, but you might make a poor decision based on that. But that's the thing. People buy emotionally and people engage emotionally. If you're not there for them, whether you're whichever side of this you're on, if you're not engaging people in an earnest way, you're missing out.
You know,
well, and I have to say, I just want to throw this out there. I never understood why a company would have someone in their booth that didn't know the product and didn't understand it. And I have to say, also in my wearing my trade show runner hat as a moment, which is one of the things that I do now. When I recruit vendors for our show, that's the first thing I want to know is who's going to be in your booth. What do you got? You know, who's going to be, because our attendees want to ask questions. They want to talk to people who know what's happening. So even if you're sending somebody locally, okay, which a few people did last year, who is this person? What do they know about your product? Are they a salesperson? Are they somebody that's familiar with it? Can they answer questions? You know, and I'll be, if I don't think it's going to work, I will let the vendor know, because I want the best experience for my attendees. And I think most trade show runners do. So,
you know, and talking about also, you know, people, the activities in their booth. I just recently had this experience where I was talking, you know, and I've said this before, we're all like carnies. We travel around to all the different shows, and I'm competing with you and you're competing with that person. But at night, we're all back at the hotel having a beer and talking about the day together. But I was talking to a vendor who had the exact same product as the vendor across the aisle. And I actually know both of those people really well. Vendor A was complaining that everybody walking up the aisle goes straight over to vendor B, and they're not stopping to talk to me. And I look, and vendor A is standing there leaning on the machine. Vendor B is printing shirts and printing shirts and printing shirts. And I thought, you honestly don't see why they're going across the aisle because that machine is running and you're leaning on yours. So that's another pet peeve, but that comes with experience and that comes with planning for your booth. Kristine, just like you're saying, who's working that booth? What do they know? Do they understand what they're supposed to be doing while they're standing there in that brief window of time that we have to be able to talk to customers? So,
well, and I will also say from a trade show organizational standpoint, most of the trade show runners that I know try to be pretty careful that that sort of thing doesn't happen. So, they'll ask you ahead of time, like, what are you selling? And try to make sure that you're not right across from someone who's selling the exact same thing. I mean, sometimes it's unavoidable and you can't do anything about it because there's a finite amount of space. But as a general rule, most trade show runners will try to make sure that you have, there's a zone of non-competitive products around you.
Right. Exactly.
If they can.
Yeah.
But I'm reading comments here and there's a couple of good ones.
Yeah.
Kristen had a good one.
Eric, I think she's saying put those up.
I can. I was trying to wait for a good pause, but we'll go for it. Kristen says, I was one who bought from someone else because I couldn't get someone to talk to me at a show.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is a common problem in general, but also a problem that women encounter a lot.
Yeah, I think, and Terry's right. Young people too. I know I actually had somebody.
Yes.
I had a guy come in and took one of my shows. He flew in specifically to take one of my long workshops at DAX. And this guy was young. And I'll tell you, admittedly, when he walked in, I'm like, wow, this is a very young guy. He's like 19, came in, did my entire session. He already had a shop up with 48 heads of embroidery. Yeah. And people were not talking to him at the shows. And I'm like, you guys are missing out. This guy has a real shop. Now, however, whatever way he got into the industry, this person right now is buying supplies. This person right now is asking for education. This person spent the money to fly out to take a class. It's someone who is investing in the industry. And it's like, we need to remember that stuff. So yeah, women, young people, of all walks of life, it doesn't matter where they come from. They all belong here. So make sure you get out there and talk to people.
Well, we are having at the Getaway, Applique Getaway, because it is the best name of a trade show ever, I have to say. Adam Fuller is teaching a class with his father. They're teaching a class on parenting a young entrepreneur. Nice. And when it was first suggested, I was like, I mean, I know Adam, and I know Adam's totally capable, but he's 11.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
He
wouldn't even be allowed to go into the ISS show. You have to be
this is true. Yeah. It's totally true.
But he's actually on the ball. He has his slides done. He's ready to go.
Right.
But there is this perception that younger people don't have the clout or don't have the stick-to-itiveness or whatever it is. I mean, you watch Adam, good Lord, the kid's 11 and he's a better business person than people 3 times his age.
I always think we're all going to be working for Adam someday.
I think you're right.
Well, I think it goes kind of both directions too. It's the same kind of split. I'll give you a pet peeve too. I've had people say, oh, well, isn't that show have more crafters at it? And I think I've talked about this a million times. People who sell are doing a professional thing. And even if they have smaller setups or third bedroom setups, that is totally fine and something we should still be trying to educate toward. Would we like those people, those of us who are old, crusty commercial folks, would we not like those people to be good citizens of the decorated apparel world? I surely would like that to be the case. Why wouldn't we educate people in the same way or treat them the same way? I understand that, sometimes we're looking for the big sales, but all of these sales line up. And from the decorated apparel side of things, I've been at a shop where we had 3 really big customers and 2 of them leave. Sometimes the conglomeration of all the smaller customers really does matter for sales folks. You might not want to put all of your eggs into 3 baskets of people who are going to buy big equipment once every 3 years. There are plenty of people who are worthwhile to talk to on the smaller end of things.
Well, and as COVID proved to us, it doesn't matter where you do the business. You can have a multi-million-dollar business from your 3rd bedroom.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter. I mean, if I'm on my couch in yoga pants and a t-shirt and I write something awesome and somebody buys it, it doesn't matter that I was on my couch in yoga pants and a t-shirt when I wrote it.
Right.
100%. And those people were operating when the big shops were shut. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you how many people have said to me, that I had to close my brick and mortar. I moved it all home. I'm not going back. This has worked out so well that I'm staying right where I am. And so, I when I first started in business, I thought there was a stigma about the fact that I was working out of my basement, and I opened just an order desk in town at the college bookstore where people could come and order T-shirts. You know what they did? They came to my house and knocked on the door because they wanted to talk to me. They wanted to go where it was being done, and they didn't care that I was operating out of my basement. That was a big revelation for me, and that was in a previous century where today, honestly, I don't think anybody cares. As long as you do good work and you deliver on time, that's all that matters to anybody.
Yep. And
well, I had Kristine Shreve who left a comment. She was on my show on Wednesday, and she started in her garage or her third bedroom. I don't remember exactly. And I mean, now she's enlarged her warehouse twice, and she has this huge company called Love That Cotton, and she runs the Everything Embroidery Market trade shows.
Yeah, folks, you never know. Small sales lead to big sales, maybe many years down the road. Absolutely. And you can go both directions and still be fine and be successful. But let's go ahead and grab a couple more comments while we're here. Christina says, I feel too that sometimes vendors forget that the way they are with customers can and does affect buyers' perspective of the whole show as well as the industry. True. Absolutely. The goal of a show is to get people what they need. Without talking to them, you don't know what they need. Absolutely. Very much the case. Also, remember that if you're doing your own vending, we're talking about apparel decorators, you guys are going out doing mobile vending or setting up, same kind of attitude that you have to keep. You have to talk to everybody and you have to be there to serve the purpose. It's something that sometimes people don't get. You can't sit and wait for orders. You have to engage with people.
Well, but don't be like those folks at the farmer's market that yell at you across the aisle to come and try their yogurt.
I like the comment from Susan because I think she's totally right.
Yeah, Frank from Franmar would stop to show us a new product, and the excitement and pride he had about what he sold was what made us look at what he was selling. Absolutely. The way you're engaged with your work, other people will pick up on. So be excited.
If you have a passion for it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think that's why people... sorry. I think that's why people love your classes, Kristine, and I think hopefully ours as well, because people understand and feel that kind of excitement and that desire to help and that desire for people to be successful. I think they feel that for real. I think that is something that's I believe it. And people tell me about being in your classes and being in all of our classes, honestly. I think that's why, and also why we do it. But the great thing is, I think anybody who's worried about how they present themselves, or honestly, even if you're worried about talking to vendors at the show, I think Terry had the right idea earlier. We're all looking for each other to be successful. The end result here is we would love everyone to sell as much as they can. We'd like everyone to be as good as they can at the creative side of this thing. We would like everybody to be back again next year, bigger and better than they are this year. Everyone is pulling for you. So no matter what side of this you're on, everyone's pulling for you. We all want this to go well.
I would agree with you.
The thing about Two Regular Guys is now we have grouped together three people who talk a lot, and we're running out of time. So, Kristine, tell us about Applique Getaway. What's the update?
Well, the update is as of today, we are 2 weeks out from Applique Getaway. And for those of you that still have not registered, this is the last day to register for the VIP Pro and VIP packages. And I would highly recommend those packages because you get access to exclusive classes that aren't available with a general ticket, and you get lunch, and you get a cool goodie bag, and you get a really cool shirt, which was designed by Nikki Adamkowitz, and a whole bunch of fun stuff. So it's definitely something that you want to do. The show floor is amazing this year, if I do say so myself, because I built it. We have a really great mix of new vendors and vendors that have been with the show for quite a while. We have commercial vendors. We have, home sewing and prosumer, as Eric would say, vendors. We have the whole gamut. We've got rhinestones, we've got sublimation, we've got white toner printing, we've got embroidery, we've got supplies, we've got hardware, we've got everything, I think. I honestly am pretty confident in saying there aren't many holes in our vendor lineup this year. So, and the classes are amazing too. I mean, there's Adam and Jeff's class, and all the embroidery nerds are teaching classes, and we've got Katie Wubin's going to be there, and she's teaching a couple of classes. Lindsay's teaching classes, a class on digitizing. I'm teaching 4 classes. The list goes on and on and on. We've got classes for if you want to make stuff, we have classes to do that. If you want to learn marketing and sales and stuff like that, we have classes for that. I'm just really, as you can tell by me rambling on and on and on, I am just really excited about this show. I feel really good about it. I think it's going to be really an amazing experience for everybody that comes. And it's simultaneously feels really long until it happens and really, really short. But I'm very excited.
We always feel that way. I think Cindy, though, for everybody who doesn't know, Applique Getaway doesn't think there's something to learn there for your particular segment. Cindy, who is completely a commercial shop, she says, I've learned a lot of neat things from the home people at the AG show too. So that's awesome. Ramona says, OMG, 2 weeks OMG. Yes. I think everybody who's prepping for the getaway feels the same way. And it looks like Kristine is going to say, see you at AG too.
Yes, Christina and Love That Cotton have a booth, which we're very excited about. And I also think that speaks well. Like I said, I had Christina on my show on Wednesday, and they run, I suppose, what you could call a competitor show. But I just call us sister shows. You know, we work in the same industry and we're friendly, and she exhibits at our show. We support her show. That's how it works. There's enough room for everybody. You don't have to be jerks about it. So
it's a good lesson for all of us in the industry, though. I will say, I've had this pet peeve told to me many a time. Classes are hard to pick from. Trying to decide between multiple classes held at the same time. It is so hard for organizers not to do this.
Yes,
there has to be room for everybody to get into classes. And there's only so many hours, so yeah, that does happen. Good thing is sometimes there's online availability, sometimes there's not, but there's usually a chance to see people again. So yeah.
Well, I will say for those that can't make the show this year and they're looking for online availability, which was harder to say than you would think, apparently. We are not recording any classes on site this year just because we couldn't get the quality of recording that we wanted without spending so much money that the classes would be $300 a piece to buy and watch. And we just didn't think that was a price point that would work. But there will be virtual Applique Getaway in November, which will be all online. You can watch it from anywhere. You can watch it in your PJs and your bunny slippers in your beanbag chair if you want. But a lot of the vendors or a lot of the instructors, I'm sorry, Terry.
I feel like you're looking at me right now.
You don't have to reveal the
slippers on. I want you to prove it. But
okay, I don't.
Okay, I didn't think so. But I just wanted to say that if you want to do virtual, a lot of the instructors that are teaching at actual AG or live AG will also be teaching at virtual. So
nice. So for more information about that, guys, if you didn't see that already, go check out appliquegetaway.com. That is also in the comments. And like you said, today's that last day for that VIP setup. Yes. So go ahead. If you're listening live, jump in now. If you're listening later on Monday, wow, you should have been listening on Friday.
Well, if you missed
still
this
check
one,
it out.
I will be around a bunch of other places today. So you're going to get so tired of if you're not already tired of my face by the end of today, you will be tired of my face.
No, we can't be tired because when we see your face, we know we're going to get your awesome content and commentary. So we're never tired.
Well, that's sweet.
It's the truth.
I'm liking these comments. Ramona says, yay, virtual AG. I like that.
Yep. And
yes, Christina, we are in it together.
Oh, yeah, she had that. And I also like this one. This is very much true. You can always chat with an instructor on the trade floor. If you have not made use of us while we're walking around the trade show floor, yes, I know sometimes we look like we're crazy and running around. Most of us will try and find time to talk to you. Don't get me wrong. If someone is working a booth, it would be lovely if you don't take all of their sales time. If they're selling in a booth for a company that they work for, they can't probably just teach you another class in their booth. Right. However, when they're sitting around working around, most of us, we are there to teach. We're there to do that. We want your questions. So yeah,
with the caveat that if they have managed to sneak away to eat lunch for 15 minutes, please let them finish their sandwich before you ask your question.
This is true, but especially we're all out, we're all hanging out, chatting with someone. I'll just say for me, yes, ask me the embroidery question. I'm always there to talk shop.
Oh yeah.
That's I have paid. I am there, like Terry said, and like Kristine said, we've paid to be there pretty frequently. I'm there to do business and talk shop. That is all I'm there to do.
Yep.
That is the primary thing I'm there to do. But yes, of course, I might be talking to the rest of my Carney friends. But yeah, ask us the questions. We like those.
Well,
right, so
our Carney friends are, the roving group of us that, though I've kind of been away from the shows for a little bit, other than AG, but I don't know. Maybe I'll get back to it next year.
it's always the question: how many are you going to do this year?
Right.
But Terry,
well, and it's interesting that when I started being part of running one, the other shows started assuming that I wouldn't necessarily want to speak at their shows, and I'm like, why wouldn't I?
Right. Those
I mean,
like
right? Because I don't see competitors. I only see love.
Hey, I'm with it. Like Christina said, we are in it together.
Yeah,
that's
we
the
are in
best
it
thing in this
together.
industry. All right, so Kristine, before we let you go, where else can they connect with you? Where else can our listeners and our viewers find more of what you're doing?
Well, there is a website, KristineShreve.com. I will put the disclaimer up that website needs updating. I am aware. It's just
it's not happening over the next 2 weeks, is it?
I'm sorry?
It's not happening over the next 2 weeks, is it?
No, it is not happening over the next 2 weeks. Perhaps after the show is over and I've had a little time. But then we start working on virtual, and then there's Lenny Penny, and there's Women in Business, and there's the book I'm writing, and there's other stuff that's been, so yeah, who knows? But KristineShreve.com. You can find me in the Women in Garment Decoration Facebook group, and I almost forgot that name for a minute. That's so weird. And also in the on my way into the Getaway group and the Lenny Penny group, and probably other groups, because I'm also possibly going to be working with the mentorship group on Facebook for Promo Kitchen. So you can find me many, many places.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
and then Women in Business. I shouldn't forget that, because that's my show.
So yeah, every Wednesday, check her out at the Women in Business podcast. Awesome guests and great talk. So by all means, check that out. Very much like you said about the other trade shows, we're not here to not tell you guys about other podcasts. We all wanted everybody to do this.
Well, and I will say, as you guys have been doing most weeks lately, if you know someone who should be a good guest for Women in Business, we still have some spots available, and I always love hearing about interesting women who have good stories to tell, who can be part of the show. Some of the best interviews are the ones that people have stories I never knew they had. So I'd love to talk to them. So
yes, reach out, folks. Reach out to Kristine if you have a woman in this business, or a woman in business in general who has something good to share. Then by all means, reach out.
Or if you think you would be a good guest yourself, tell me, or you can just do what I did and just go, hey guys, I'm coming on the show.
We put the link out there. That's the thing I always tell people, like, how do we get on the show? I'm like, every week we say it at least twice.
Well, I feel like the year just isn't right if I don't show up on the show a couple of times. It's just,
we feel the same.
I mean, I have to, all kudos to you guys in this show, because you really, this was the first podcast I ever did. I mean, way back in the days before you could see me.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah. Exactly. And Kristine and I first guest hosts.
I think we were.
So
that's right. I forgot about that. Absolutely.
I think we were. Yeah, Eric. Well, I have a long history with all of you, but Eric and I have been partnered up for quite a while, and we really need to do another Ask an Expert or something, Eric.
We really should. We should do another live soon.
We really should. I don't know when that's going to happen, but we should
I can hear my wife screaming right now, Eric, don't take on another show. But I want to take on another show.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But I think after live AG is over, because I got no more bandwidth right now.
Trust me, I think everybody's had that week. I'm there too. Bandwidth is low, but I do want to bring in one more comment before we let you go, because I think it's good for you to see these things. I like to make sure all of our guests get the kudos they deserve. And Rugg says, sweet. Great info, Kristine. Thanks for being such a positive force in the market and representing trade shows as a whole. Awesome. So thank you very much, Kristine.
Thank you.
And I agree, and wanted to make sure you got to see that live. So thank you very much for being on as well today. And thank you all, as always, for just being a font of information. For
And
all
can
of us
I
in the
do
industry.
2 more little plugs and then I'll shut up?
Please. Okay. Please.
Okay. 1:00 p.m. Eastern time today, I will be talking to Sheila Ryan in the Designs by Baby Moon group. And
Awesome.
if you're a member of that group, please come watch us. And then at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, I will be talking to Justin, Matt, and Jeff, the embroidery nerds, and Nikki, the sassy subber. And you should come watch that one just to see if I survive.
All right. Well, everybody go check those things out and follow Kristine wherever she's at. All right. Thank you so much for being on, Kristine.
Awesome. Thanks, Kristine.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
All right.
Great episode.
I know. That when I was putting together the outline, I thought, well, this one writes itself. We'll just say trade shows and off we go.
Well, it's hard because we always think like, are we going to have enough stuff? Should we go and fill out the rest of this stuff? No, invariably we had enough. In fact, I was going to do an emergency 5 things. We'll just go ahead and say no emergency 5 things today. If you guys have 5 things that you would like to share with us, please reach out to us. We actually have a link here to regularguys.com. That's the number 2 regularguys.com/5 things, the number 5. So jump in and grab that. That lets you submit a 5 things. You can submit a recording directly. You can submit a live video. You can just send us the text of your 5 things, and one of us, me or the 2 regular guys, will read that for you. Jump in with your 5 things, your 5 tips, 5 things you would do at a trade show, 5 tips you have for running a business, or 5 things that are just tacitly related, tertiary to the industry. We've done that too. Things for taking care of yourself, things for survival in the industry. So submit your 5 things and you could be on the show too.
All right. So what do you have coming up, Eric?
Okay, what do I have coming up today? I have, as always, the take up. So this week it's episode 118 Q&A. So I'm doing some Q&A catch up from a lot of questions I've been getting recently. So default settings in embroidery digitizing, some discussion about outsourcing, some talking about color and thread choices, and a little bit about digitizing tools. So mostly short answers from people who have been kind of in my DMs pestering me about some stuff that I needed to answer for them. And I'm bringing it to the show because I think there was some valuable information for everybody. You can find that at ericcampbell.com. Go up to the top and there's a tab that says take up. Click there and you get the entire playlist as well as the most recent episode right there on the front page. What I also have coming up soon, I've not done speaking, I guess, for the year. I almost forgot. Making smaller run patches. I got a 3+ hour workshop going on at Impressions Expo Fort Worth. So check that out at impressionsexpo.com. And I would just like to go ahead and share. I don't always share my articles, but people have been asking me, like, are you still writing? Yes, I'm still writing articles. I'm not in all the places I used to be, but I am in Images Magazine out in the UK. Really love their format. And if you want to go check that out, I'll put that up on screen as I can. I have a new article about mixed media made simple. So multimedia kind of expressions made simple, and that is in their digital issue. So there's a bit.ly link for you. But yeah, latest Images Magazine. And every month in Images Magazine, I have a classic magazine style article that they have in flipbook style ready for you to read. And this one all about multimedia. So mixing print and embroidery and the things you might want to know to make that work. So that's what I've got going on. What do you have, Terry?
Well, I have my Everything You Hear About DTG Printing on the Internet is Wrong. That will be July 21st at Graphics Pro Expo in the Meadowlands in New Jersey. DTG DTF Academy will be at Equipment Zone in Franklin Lakes, New Jersey on July 28th. And you can go to equipmentzone.com for that. My complete screen printing business class, I am expanding, and so I'm going to be offering that class in Franklin Lakes, New Jersey. That's the New York City area at Equipment Zone. That's going to be July 30th and 31st, and you can sign up for that class at equipmentzone.com. I'll be in Chicago for Atlas Screen Supply class, and that is August 27th and 28th. I'll be doing that same class at Workhorse Products here in Phoenix, September 17th and 18th, and all my future dates. I guess I need to get my Fort Worth seminars put in here as well. So
don't forget, like me.
Right. Eric, you want to share Aaron's upcoming events?
Absolutely. Let's grab Aaron's stuff too. Aaron, July 15th, he has coming up real quickly here, the Growing Your Business Effortlessly workshop. And that was one we shared earlier with our little our little message from him. And that one is going to be over at OurSuccessGroup.com/grow. So check that out. September 11th, he'll be participating in an international online small business skills summit as a speaker. Small Business Skills Summit is bringing you 30 experts over 30 days. You got to see him announce that recently. It's really cool. Check that out at osg.link/skills summit. And that session that he's doing for that one is called Conquer, Fear, and Thrive. One of the good things that he's been doing lately, talking a lot about how people deal with fear and getting past it. September 15th in Charlotte, North Carolina, he'll be at the Graphics Pro Expo, once again hosting the Start Here Academy. Going to be the MC for that, so he gets to host the whole thing and kind of run that. And he's got those 3 people we talked about. We had a couple of them on the show. Amazing influencers sharing how they started in apparel decoration. And like I said, we've heard them on the show. If you want to go check out more from them, check that out at graphicsproexpo.com at Start Here Academy. Also, coming up shortly, Sublimation Summit. It feels shortly to me, at least. September sounds like a long way away, but it'll be here soon. In Peachtree City, Georgia, that is September 23rd. Everything Embroidery Market, Myrtle Beach, North Carolina, September 24th. So there's a real quick drive in the middle of that one for him. And Printing United, which we talked about earlier, Las Vegas, Nevada, October 19th through 21st. And you know that 2 other guys will be there having a booth, the whole thing. So you'll be able to see Terry and Aaron out there in Las Vegas.
We'll be broadcasting live from there. So.
Yes. Nice. All right. So with that, I think we've come to the close of another show. We've certainly gone into bonus time. I guess we can't blame Aaron this time.
I know.
We all wanted to draw. Thank you very much to Kristine Shreve for being on. She was awesome as always. And I have to thank her for her part in the 2 Regular Guys in general, let alone her episode today. So thank you, Kristine, for being on.
Absolutely. And as always, I want to thank you, Eric, for being our show producer and for, again, last minute guest hosting and pushing all the buttons in the background at the same time.
and this is not fair. Evelyn says, Aaron who? Not fair. Not nice. Not nice. Aaron will be right back. Just because June wasn't Aaron's month, it doesn't mean he won't be back. He's coming, I swear. He almost showed up today. He was very kindly saying, I don't think my internet might hold up. Eric, can you still do it? I'm like, we're good, man. We got you. Aaron will be back. I am not, this is not a, Beatles situation. I didn't come break up the band. You guys will have Aaron back shortly. Don't worry. All right. So next week,
Coach Campbell.
Yeah, no, no, I'm not taking over. I've got my own show. I've got enough to do on my plate as it is. All right. Next week, we're going to have Eric Solomon on from Night Owls Prints in Houston, and he's going to talk all about water-based printing and then business and education. So 2 things we love. And hey, water-based printing, something we could all learn more about. Certainly, those of us in embroidery like myself, I'll be tuning in from the back end and listening carefully.
Very good. Well, until then, I'm Terry Combs. He's Eric Campbell, sitting in for Aaron Montgomery.
And we are, for today, the 2 Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to 2 Regular Guys. Check out our website at 2regularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/2regularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/2regularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, 2regularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.